This week's episode of Pixelated is sponsored by Gadget Salvation. Looking to upgrade your tech or just declutter? Don't let your used laptop collect dust. Turn it into cash with Gadget Salvation. Gadget Salvation is a trusted online platform that makes it easy to sell your pre-owned electronics. Just visit gadgetsalvation.com/9to5mac, answer a few simple questions about your device to get an instant estimate, ship it for free, and get paid quickly via your preferred payment app. What makes Gadget Salvation stand out is their commitment to the circular economy. By facilitating the reuse of devices, they help extend the life cycle of electronics and reduce electronic waste. It's a win for your wallet and the planet. And right now, listeners can get an extra 10% on their payout with the code GADGET10 at checkout. So if you've got electronics sitting unused, don't wait. Visit gadgetsalvation.com/9to5mac today to see what it's worth and get paid fast. Find them on social media at Gadget Salvation or facebook.com/Gadget Salvation. Thanks to Gadget Salvation for sponsoring.
So I am in a bit of an emotional state, guys. Basically, May to, what is it? Is it September now? It's September. I can't even believe it's September. May till September, I have been delving deep. We've all been doing it, but I feel like I've been doing a lot of delving into QPR1. It's finally available. It's finally out there in the wild. People are installing it. People are enjoying it in its stable format. Tell me what you think so far. I mean, I know we've all been using it in beta format, but please tell me some of the highlights that you guys are really enjoying, and I will go ham on this in about 2 minutes when you're ready.
I think the first takeaway, and I think the one that everybody will immediately notice, is the redesigned quick settings. Just from the fact that you can condense the tiles from 2x1 to 1x1, and that you can have a max of 16 tiles on the first page or 8 on the initial notifications drop down. I think that drastically changes how people use quick settings in terms of there's no more swiping. I don't think most people have more than 2 pages. I think this is a very nice modernization, but also productivity-wise, it's such an efficient update.
How do you feel about the quick settings, though, in terms of going from, because this has been a bit of a culture shock for me, going from that Material U redesign of like the long, thin, elongated, almost like oblong shapes, to then going down to almost shaving them in half, or cutting them in half.
Pretty chunky in the Material U era. They were always unnecessarily
How do you feel about
chunky. I think So Google's going back, I think the previous design was a 9x9 grid, or whichever the previous design was.
Yeah.
And the idea with Material U was it wanted to be more spacious. It wanted to add text labels to be clearer. I think this new design proves that premise was wrong. Like most people will be fine with just icons. You don't need accompanying text labels because it's just. The Material U design was just so bad for info density, and I think this design, Google's going back to something that's, I think people recognize these icons they see every day, and for the ones they don't, they can expand it and keep the old look.
Yeah, it's a good job you mentioned that, because I was about to say there's a few icons where I'm like, I get confused with it because I'm so used to seeing the text. So I'm like, oh, which one's that one? Is that airplane mode? Is that cast? I mean, obviously I know the cast logo, but there's certain ones where I'm like, which one is that one again? Like, so it's kind of nice that you can expand them out, right?
I will say it's like, I'm looking at it and it's like the couple I don't like immediately recognize in my own are like also like pretty, I'm like, my first guess is always correct, right? Because I'm like, maybe I don't totally like QuickShare is such like a relatively recent rebranding that I don't have the icon for it cemented in my brain, but it clearly looks kind of like a Q with 2 arrows pointing. It's like, oh, that's probably QuickShare, and it is, right? It's stuff like that where it's, easy to same with like screen recording, right? Like it's like, well, that's probably what that is, and you're right the first time.
I just feel like maybe this is where sometimes Google needs to double down on one icon style. So, like they have, okay, this is the icon we're going to use for this. This is the icon we're going to use for this, and be like, hey, we're not going to change this too drastically in the next few years because we've seen some big changes in this update, right? Everything feels how would I describe it? Softened? Is it softened? Like this is going to sound so disrespectful, but they've Comic Sansed up the rest of the UI. Like they've made things like almost bubbly, almost like instantly visible. Like I don't know, am I being disrespectful there, or is that kind of a good way to describe it? I don't really know. I feel like I'm probably being disrespectful.
I don't think it's disrespectful. I know what you mean, but like, I don't know. I've also been using this since like May, or I don't know. I might have waited until June to install it just because I was between jobs at the time. But I don't know. I really think that this is maybe Google's like most cohesive overall visual design in a while. Like even more so than like,
yes. I put a caveat on that, but yes.
Hit me with a caveat.
Okay, on Android, which we were talking about, I think Material 3 Expressive is pretty solid. It's pretty cohesive, like you were saying. It's thought out. But we'll get to the actual apps in a second. But I think if we stick to Android for now, have you customized quick settings in any clever way, or are you going for full density?
I've kind of left it as the default layout, which
have you left it default? Oh my god, that is 100% psycho behavior.
Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, this pretty much has all the stuff I would add. Like I don't. Okay. It does. There are two things that bleed over on mine to a second page, and one of them is the security and privacy tab, which like I could pretty easily remove, and the other one is dark mode, which I just let automatically turn on and off, and I almost never trigger. And otherwise, it's like, you've got your internet settings, your flashlight, which I have a hardware shortcut set up anyway. If I double tap, or if I click both of the volume buttons, my flashlight turns on.
I thought you were going to say you're using quick tap. That never works.
Oh no, not that. No, there's I forget what the app is. It's like Flash Dim or something that lets you map it to the volume keys, and it works. And it maximizes brightness instead of just doing half brightness like the Pixel does by default. Cast, I already mentioned quick share, auto rotate, all that stuff is already there. That's the stuff I would have put in there. And so, I was just kind of like, done,
so
easy.
On the whole design, I had 4 pages.
That's too many pages.
Yeah, that's too many pages. That is way too many pages. Like, what are you doing that you need to be spending that much time in there? You could open up an application, right? I just feel like there's so many pages. I've laughed at your psycho behavior, but mine isn't actually that far away looking at it. So I am a hypocrite. I'm a major hypocrite. Okay, so I haven't gone for the full 16 grid. I have a few elongated ones for like the cast tab, battery saver, because I always, it seems ridiculous because it's a battery icon, but I just forget what it is all the time. Yeah. And I don't know why. Then I have one for my alarms so I can see the exact time of the next alarm. Like, other than that, it's pretty basic. If we can put it in the show notes, I'll send a screenshot and we'll put that on there.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, people can kind of see our themes and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think the way that they've handled it is, as Abner alluded to a moment ago, it is really nice. I like the fact that some of where quick settings tile is activated, it's almost like a square shape, and then it's like kind of round, more, like a smaller oblong if it isn't activated. It's a shame that there's still no one-touch Wi-Fi, but there's one-touch Bluetooth and one-touch Do Not Disturb. I don't know what Google's thinking with that. They kind of want to force that little Wi-Fi thing with us. But for the most part, I'm definitely enjoying the new layout for this. I think I've made no secret on the podcast before that I have absolutely adored One UI this past 12 months or so. And this is now my favorite version of Android to use. It's so smooth. The animations have been reworked in some cases. There's just those little touches. I think I've always been kind of one of these people who will spot what Google's do. Hopefully I'm one of the people who do this. Google's little touches for animations are always like, I know your favorite word being delightful, Abner. I do genuinely think some of these little like tiny touches, swiping away notifications, there's that kind of little bump, bounce, flick. It's almost like a liquid slash like amorphous kind of animation. I love it. I think these little extra touches just really tie everything together, because Material U was like the first time I think we'd seen a UI from Google that was like completely different from what anyone else was doing.
Right.
And I think this is a really like natural and nice progression. I do feel like it's very much at home on the Pixel 10 as well. Like it was great to be able to test drive it for the past couple of weeks in its effectively final form. And I'm just excited to see what they do with like certain aspects of it with QPR2 coming in a few months' time. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's just so much I just adore about this new look.
Yeah, I think to round out quick settings and like control center is the competition, obviously. And my thing with control center, I know you were telling me earlier with 4 pages and 32 tiles that it's quicker to open the app. My complaint with the control center on iOS has always been that it feels like a secondary home screen when it's just too much complexity, and quick settings feels the opposite to me. And yeah, like you were saying, the morphing, I think quick settings is the primary thing people will notice, but also the primary thing people will get a productivity benefit out of. So I think it's been a long time coming. I think this is a solid design for them, and I hope they continue. Moving on to the rest of the system, consistency. I think my second biggest thing is that this introduces a lot of consistency. So like with the most recent stable Android 16 release, the initial release, there are basically like 3 sets of volume sliders. The one that you use with the physical lockers, the full panel overlay, and the one in the settings app. All that is now consolidated into one design, one consistent slider design. And I think that goes a long way because like after every major Android release, let's say Android 12, for example, Android 13, 14, 15, Google spent every year like making piecemeal changes, new designs and interfaces and all that, redesigning existing things. But it was, like I said, piecemeal. It looked inconsistent year to year. And the benefits of these big redesigns, these big overhauls, give Google a chance to unify everything. And I think it's something people appreciate, and I think Android is getting much better for it.
Yeah, I think as well, like you say, that consolidation and kind of unifying everything. As ridiculous as it sounds, I think getting rid of the Pixel Tips app has been a great choice, and creating that my Pixel application, because it's something that like I didn't think when I picked up the Pixel 10 for the first time, I was like, oh, this is a new application, and it gives you more of an overview of why that there is the tips there are a little bit better because they feel more cohesive to the new version of the system, and have an application that is the home for everything you need to know, as opposed to why would I want a tips app? I'm a power user. This feels like the best way to do it, and it does feel like everything is starting to get more unified across Android and Pixel. I mean, I'm hopefully that's a sign of things to come in the future. But I just love that it is. I mean, it isn't a double down of Material U. It's just the next version of it, and it feels like it just feels like they're in their element almost, if that makes sense. I'm guessing we've seen a lot of OEMs out there try and emulate what iOS does. I'm very, very hopeful that people don't go down the liquid glass route in the next 6 to 12 months.
They're going to. They're going
yeah,
to.
I know. I'm wishful thinking, right?
But I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly how I feel about Google's build of Android, and how I have felt since Material U, as you said, which is that like they are the only, in my opinion, the only company that is not taking at least some amount of inspiration. You know, I like One UI 7 in general, but like you cannot say that is not at least like partially inspired by, by iOS. And I would say that like for other smaller OEMs, it is, especially like Chinese OEMs in particular, that this has been true for a long time, but it is, typically the new features are like, oh yeah, that's like their take on like Apple's blank, like fill in the blank here. And Google doesn't really do that. And when they do, it is because an idea is so good that there is just no, like something like live updates where it's like, yeah, that is like obviously pulling from like the dynamic island, but like that was a really good idea on Apple's part. It was a little half baked at launch because apps needed to support it. But I would say by, 12 months in, the dynamic island, in my opinion, is like pretty, ignoring the fact that it is a huge cutout on the screen. The actual utility of it, like the software side of it, is really smart, and I'm happy to see that stuff kind of coming to Android slowly. And it's one of the few things where I can point and be like, yeah, okay, that is like taken from like an idea Apple had, but in a good way. Like, and the rest of it feels so cohesive, including that where it's like it doesn't stick out as an Apple idea. It comes together to feel like a cohesive mobile vision that just doesn't feel like anything else, which is kind of the whole reason I want to use Android, or one of them, right? Is that I don't want to use like something that just feels like an iPhone. Then I should just go get an iPhone at that point. And I also, real quick, Damien, just because I had not really dug into the My Pixel app super deep since I got my Pixel 10 last week.
Yeah.
I really do like the new way they have the Pixel tip stuff laid out, which I never found useful before. Now it feels, and listeners will not have this experience, but the two of you will. It feels like a consumer focused version of reviewer guides. Like, this feels very much like they took the reviewers guides that they hand out during a review cycle, which is a very long PDF that has tips and whatnot, like instructions on how to test out features, and basically just kind of put it in the phone and gave it to people, which is good because there's so many software features now that it's really, even for us, it is hard to keep track of sometimes. And I think it's like a great way to make sure that like you can easily find all of the information on this stuff and how to use it in one single spot.
I don't know. It just feels to me like a tips app is aimed at the first time users. And this is like kind of integrating it into this, because this is obviously a storefront as well. A storefront with, I mean, it even has offers if you have a Pixel phone, for instance, which I think is, hey, Google wants to sell products, right? They need to get products in people's hands. And it's kind of one of those things where it makes sense if someone is going to use this, they're going to go here for information. There's some, obviously they have that.
A complete request. Please provide
exactly. You can tell that my phone decides that it wants to speak to me about things. So yeah. They're definitely listening to me. It's nice to see the best phones forever stuff. I think that's kind of cool as well. It feels like there is more of a, it's not totalitarian, but it's like a totalitarian vision of what they want to do with Pixel phones. If this is the vehicle for someone who has an older device potentially to go and get a newer device, then that makes sense. Having the store at the end and the support all in one place. And this is just an application. Like everything else then ties in together with it. And I'm really, really pleased with it so far.
Well, and to your point, it's Damien, a shame. Aren't you like? Sorry. Well, I just want to add on is that like before we get too far from it, I don't think I ever opened Pixel tips because to your point, that's for people who are new to Pixel or whatever. But like
100%.
When you put them in the My Pixel app, it feels a little more inviting to even like a power user to be like, oh, I forgot it had this feature, or oh, I didn't even know like this one slipped by me or whatever, you know?
It's exactly the same. Pixel tips and it's exactly the same. There's no new information.
No, but I'm saying the layout, the layout is like the way they are presenting the information is.
No, it actually hides it behind the second tab now.
But like I think my point is that like I was never going to open the Pixel Tips app because I didn't feel like I needed it, and now and like it is. I think it is genuinely a smart idea to make it more inviting by putting it in this larger application that feels like a hub where you are more likely to stumble into it rather than just ignoring the Pixel Tips app in your app drawer, which is what I've done since they put Pixel Tips.
I'm just saying all the information is exactly.
Oh no, yeah, the information is new. It's the way it's laid out, and especially in this new Material 3 Expressive UI, I think it's just like much more inviting.
In terms of the functionality, though, really a lot of it is just it's almost just new. It's new clothes. Emperor's new clothes. There are a few cool features in there. I agree with Abner. I think that the unifying of certain like pull tabs, so like volume slider, the brightness bar, it just makes it clearer. I think it's kind of nice as well that you have like a draggable tab. I'm really excited though because while testing this out and showcasing if you haven't already seen my deep dive in the video on YouTube, go check it out. When I was playing around with the desktop mode, this to me it's one of those underrated features. And I say underrated because we have decks on Samsung phones, right? Samsung phones have had this for a number of years. It's kind of, it feels like one of those features that if you are going to use it, you're going to be an evangelist for it. I feel like this is a little bit of Google's way of doing it is a little bit more, how to describe it, like try it and see kind of deal at the moment. But I've been playing around with it. It feels like that perfect combination so far anyway, because it's in its early stages of like Chrome OS, a little bit of Windows. But I can definitely see this. If Google can improve the performance of the devices in terms of like gaming and stuff, this could be like the ultimate emulation option. Like you could just plug this into your TV, mouse and keyboard. I've been playing Balatro on it almost I played for hours. Like this is where this story is even coming from.
Mouse when you
I've been using a mouse, and I have been dragging it around, and it's literally like playing on Steam. It's insane. I was like, I got carried away and lost 45 minutes just playing a game. I mean, I'm addicted to the game anyway, but just dragging windows around. I had the podcast open in the background.
I mean,
it was awesome.
Mouse is interesting because I've been so laptop first, like my entire technology, whatever, and that having to use a mouse. What I need is to get a trackpad to use this, but using a mouse has been I think to me that's contributed to desktop mode feeling so old. The fact that I have to get a mouse separate, use a cursor in the first place, versus something like a built-in keyboard with a trackpad and whatnot. But yeah, Chrome OS it's the inspiration, so to speak. It feels like it still feels very first gen. It's not first gen in that it's been in the works for a few years, for a few Android versions in developer preview. But I still am getting that it's a mobile inspired take on what a desktop operating system is. And I don't know, I'm still getting used to the fact it doesn't. Like my longest thing with Chrome OS it felt like Chrome OS felt such like a web-based operating system. It felt like a website as an operating system, and that was the case for so many years for me. It's in the past few iterations, it's finally stabilized a bit to me, and it feels native. But for the longest time, it felt like a web approach to an operating system, which it was, but there was still some clunkiness on the corners. But with the Android take, I've primarily been using it on a Pixel tablet, so that's not the biggest screen. That's not the most ideal screen for desktop stuff. But yeah, I haven't connected the phone to a monitor yet, but I'm still... I
highly, highly recommend it. I can definitely see this being... So for me... I mean, I'm not going to use this all the time, right? But I can definitely see this when traveling in a pinch. You know, you can just throw it into your TV, potentially have like, I mean, you might not run loads of applications, but you might want to do some basic gaming on the go. And like, I potentially would do this quite a bit, going to events and stuff. So there is an option there where I can just have one cable, HDMI to USB-C. I'm probably going to have a trackpad or something with me.
So it's
or a game controller.
It sounds like it's still content consumption first. But what's
it definitely feels like that, right?
What's productivity looking like?
Okay.
Because the Docs web app, I'd use the Docs web app over the Docs Android app at this point, and I'm not sure if that's what Google wants. But the Docs tablet app looks nice. It looks very material. But in terms of productivity and functionality, I'm going to the web app and that Chrome, and I kind of feel that defeats the purpose of all this.
Yeah, that's the only stumbling block I've found so far is like the limitations of Chrome on Android versus Chrome on, say, a PC, Mac, whatever it is, even a Chromebook. The utility is a little bit, it's stymied. It's kind of softened because you can only currently have 2 tabs side by side. You can't run any more than that. You can't have potentially 3 tabs of Chrome floating in Windows. You can only have the 2. You can snap the windows, so it's kind of useful for that. You could do cross-referencing and things. You could maybe edit a document in the web app, like you say, rather than using a Docs application, but you could kind of get around it. It definitely feels like at the moment there's going to be a lot of workarounds, but I'm excited to see what they do with it. I do genuinely think that Dex is probably going to be the de facto leader in this space for a long time, and I don't know anyone who actually uses Dex for work purposes
Let's
or
say
anything
video
like
editing.
that.
You're a video editor. I
could
anything?
never see myself.
Yeah.
You could use LumaFusion, but I haven't tested it out yet. Maybe because I don't know if I have a license on Android on my work email, so I didn't actually test it. I was testing it on my test device, which has not got my personal email logged in. I need to go out and try that because I do genuinely think that could be useful. Like I know a lot of people will you go on vacation, for instance, and you might want to edit a video quickly. Like that could be useful, I guess. You could edit on the go, but again, you're kind of reliant, like you say. There is definitely a big fallback on traditional keyboard and mouse, which are you going to carry that? I don't know. Are they going to make them? Hey, if somebody makes a MagSafe version of a keyboard and mouse, I'll be there. I will be first to test drive that.
And I don't want to speak for you, Damien, but if someone handed me a different like video or audio editing application, it would take me 4 times as long just because I don't have a decade of muscle memory built up for keyboard shortcuts. Like I would truly be like, it has to be Premiere or has to be Audition for me to use this stuff because that's just like what's built into my brain, you know? So it gets tricky when you don't have those dedicated, those could come though, right? Like we've seen Adobe push pretty 100%. Hard on iOS and then, you know, Android typically lags behind, but like those apps are coming. It's just a matter of when. I think we're probably still several years off from them, but I would love to see that. Like I would love the idea of like, I'm traveling and I want to edit, you know, Pixelated on the go, and I don't even need to use my laptop to do this. I can just like plug it into whatever and you know, be ready to open, you know, an Adobe app, or if I switch to something else, that. But yeah, I think it does depend on which piece of software you use.
Yeah, I mean, the only upside is, and this goes back to the cohesion comments, is that because of the work on Android 12L, we do have a lot of application scaling that works really well with this. So there are a lot of apps that I thought wouldn't work and would be terrible. I'm actually not bad. I know that we still need a lot of work with Android tablet applications, but most of the time these are going to be Android tablet apps that are running on your screen. But for the most part, if you want to play around with it, I highly suggest doing so. If you're like me and you're a Balatro addict, go for it because it runs like a dream. I mean, it can run on a calculator. I think I've said it multiple times already. It can run on anything. It could probably run on a smartwatch, and I actually would like to see that.
I was going to say, I want to see like a TI-84 running Balatro. That is where I want to play Balatro.
Well, maybe someone out there can get in contact with us and put that into reality. That would be amazing. Like there is a lot of like more modest changes in QPR1. I think most of them definitely pertain to cosmetic changes. Usability wise, there isn't anything drastic. Like desktop mode is probably the biggest. Quick settings. There are some big changes to how wallpaper and style works, but for the most part, you are mostly getting quality of life changes, a bit of a visual overhaul, and I think that kind of is the best way that Google could have done it. It's the best way that they could have done this update because it's not going to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, as it were. You're not changing things for the sake of it. It just feels like they've done things in the right way.
Yeah, there's no like performance bump. There's no performance penalty, rather, from Material to Expressive. And
no.
I think in comparison, again, Liquid Glass I'm running it on an older device, and it's has a pretty big performance penalty, it feels. So I think that's going into this upcoming fall and OS release season, which at Google went first. I think that's going to be something that people talk about, and I don't think with Android, even on the much older devices, I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who's run it on anything less than a Pixel 7 so far. I know that it is available for Pixel 6, but I don't know anyone who's running it on Pixel 6 personally. But if you do, please let us know, because I want to see how it runs on Pixel 6. I imagine it'll be absolutely fine. But if you've had a Pixel 6, you've seen the full gambit of Material U right to where we are today. It's quite a big, I don't want to say drastic. Visually, it can seem drastic at times. Like, for me, the biggest one is a new system font. Like, I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think of the new system font? Do you think it's a good change or a bad change? Because initially, I don't know if I agreed with it.
To be honest with you, I think I noticed it the first day and immediately I was like, oh yeah, new font, right? And then like for me, it was it's not, in my eyes, it was not a particularly extreme change from what was there. And I've always kind of liked Google's font choices, to be honest. Like I think they have, they have switched fonts several times since I started using Android with, I think, Gingerbread, and like, it's, or Froyo maybe. And so like, it's not like I haven't seen those changes before, but I don't know. It just looks clean and pretty easily readable to me. And yeah, I'm struggling to think of a thing about Material 3 Expressive that I don't like. Like it really does feel even like I liked Android 12 and I liked Material U, but obviously that was such an unfinished update and one that was, I think, really polished out with Android, over the 12 months and then Android 13. And like, that doesn't feel like that here. This feels like the Android 13 update where it's kind of already cohesive and gelling together, with the exception of the fact that we're still like having the app updates roll out.
On that note, let's talk about what Material 3 Expressive looks like on apps, specifically Google's apps, which by the time Android 16 QPR1 is rolling out, I'd say the vast majority, with some standouts, have been updated, like your basics. So how do we feel about Material 3 Expressive in apps? Because while again I praise it on the OS and think it's a cohesive experience, I think the apps thing is a more mixed bag that betrays like how Android apps within Google work, how the teams approach it. It's not a centralized team or anything like that. There's nothing I actively hate. I like some of the modernizations, like something called the search app bar, where the search bar at the top of your screen is no longer full width. It's narrowed with the hamburger button and the account profile switcher outside of it. Like most workspace apps have that right now. I like that modernization. I like how Google Keep works, but it's a new coat of paint, but nothing has drastically changed, which I guess you could say that about the OS. But at the same time, while the OS feels expressive to me, I don't feel that in apps.
Yeah, it's a strange one because, like to be quite honest with you, I don't use tons and tons of first-party applications beyond like the dialer and messages here and there. And but I agree with you. There is functionally there is no change. I think some of the little changes do feel nice, like the
biggest updates are Google Messages and Google Phone. Those are the biggest, most comprehensive updates we've had so far. And I like the phone app. I like Messages.
Yeah, the phone app is the best, I would say, at least the one that feels like the biggest change and I think needed it the most, right? Like I think it kind of needed to feel a little bit fresher compared to the rest of the apps versus like, I don't know, like Gmail's got that like big green archive thing now when you swipe a message away, which is nice, but that's kind of
expressive.
It's expressive. Yeah, like it's not a bad update, but it's kind of, or like Google Drive is like very similar to what was there before, just like kind of slightly different icon shapes. I wouldn't say there's anything I've spotted in these apps that I actively dislike, but some of them obviously again, Drive is like, did it update? Oh, I guess it did update. Okay. It's like you're looking at it, you're like, it's like playing spot the difference in a couple of these versus more cohesive reimaginings like the phone app.
Do we think that's a good thing though, that they haven't gone whole hog on some of the updates for certain applications? Because you could see backlash a little bit like Apple saw with, for instance, the
Photos app.
Is it their gallery of photos?
Photos.
Like I know that. Are they rolling that back right now?
There's a bunch of like they're bringing back a bunch of different things in iOS 26 that were like removed or like reformatting it. And I've never been an Apple Photos person, obviously, but that they really wrecked that app with last year's update and have clearly been trying to pull it back. And I don't see anything like that here where if the biggest accusation you can throw at Google is that they maybe played it a little too safe, I think that's fine. Because, at the end of the day, I want Gmail to look pretty, but I also am opening it to respond to an email.
It.
Yeah, I don't. It functionality matters more in basically all of these apps. And you can see, we were talking about like My Pixel, right? Like I feel like they embrace it a little bit more in something like that, where you are not opening it to get a task done. You're opening it to explore the phone or something, and so they can be a little bit more free with how they display information, as opposed to, again, something like Gmail, where it's you need to know where all of your email commands are.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just don't think there was no point trying to reinvent the wheel.
If it ain't broke, don't fix, right? Yeah,
exactly. If you're just going to add a fresh coat of paint, absolutely fine. That if it doesn't affect the functionality, and like you say, there's apps that take advantage of that maybe people haven't seen before, haven't existed. Go all out. Like that's great. Go for it. I'm very interested to see what Google does with widgets, because I think that's one of the biggest problems I think I have with Material 3 Expressive so far is a lot of the widgets are just. They're hungover from Material U design. Yeah. I'm having to use a third-party application at the moment. If anyone gets this, check this out. This is just a plug for an application. I think it might be free as well at this point in time. I think it's called M3E Expressive widgets. It's about 300 or so, genuinely like 300 or so widgets I've been using on my home screen. And it's kind of like a really nice third-party widget application that ties everything together. It like makes your home screen look a bit cooler, a bit nicer. But for the most part, yeah, I guess there's some sort of like, how would I describe it? You want them to go all out on this, but at the same time, like we were saying, with functionality, just don't throw that away, because you can really alienate your user base by trying to change things for the sake of it. And I like the fact that certain things are going to be slowly updated over time, because, Google has so many users of, like you say, applications like Gmail. What is it? The world's biggest email platform.
Absolutely.
You could potentially piss off a lot of people very easily without making any changes, let alone making big wholesale changes. But all the little tiny accenting, I love all those accenting anyway. I love that stuff. Yeah. Credit where it's due. I'm not going to be critical of the app so far. I like the new call screen for the dialer. I think it looks awesome. I don't know how you guys feel about the simplified no contacts option in there. It's just keypad and then that's hidden in that hamburger menu. How do you feel about that? Because I think that oversimplifies that. I will criticize that option.
I think I am a scroller. I do agree that that's my default behavior versus search, but search is always there, and I think heavily use favorites, so you can pin that at the top. But yeah, that's phone being the most comprehensive. Messages, it's more of a reskin for messages. Just looking at these other apps, like speaking of photos, they changed some stuff up, but I guess that's Material 3 Expressive, but it kind of feels like they are on their own roadmap for updating, modernizing their own thing. So it's not exclusively, I don't think you can exclusively tie to this. But yeah, I think that the point to what you said was that we're already seeing more Material 3 after the Expressive, after the initial wave of stuff. I think Gmail is still adding more stuff versus what's already rolled out to people. So it will be a process. And I think as more and more screens are updated, we're in this for the long haul. But I guess the credit you can say about Wicked Glass is that their overhaul is comprehensive on day one. And I'm somewhat envious of that, and that everything rolled out one update versus with the Play Store updates and then plus server side, it's been a process cataloging all these things. But it's nice that Google hit most of it by the time that the stable release is rolling out. So there's that.
Which
But,
is another big change from Material U, because I remember, Material U was still rolling out to apps in like December of 2021, like maybe even into 2022. Like there were applications that were not
absolutely
ready at launch for that. And to be fair, again, that whole operating system was kind of not ready for launch, but that felt very much like the beta period extended into full launch, and that's not here this time. Like Google has learned over those 4 years to like, nope, we've got it ready now. Like maybe Android 15 was a little bit more of a safe update than you would have expected, but it's probably because they were getting this ready, and I think they kind of crushed it.
Yeah, I cannot agree more, really. I think, it's nice as well to finally get a device with an operating system that looks inherently different. Yeah. So you buy the new device, it has a brand new operating system on it that looks different from the previous version. I think that's something that we've all been critical of over the past few years. I think Android 16, even as short a time ago as June, definitely felt like Android 12.7 or something 12.5. It definitely felt like that. Like that was the end of that road, and it's like, fine, we basically now need to start renovating properly. We've put the framework in there, and I think it's a really good update. I've seen a little bit of a performance uptick on my Pixel 9 Pro XL, which is now becoming a test device. It feels a bit snappier. I don't know. It could be. It's always placebo with these things, right? You always think, "Oh my god, my phone is so much smoother now," and it could just be the extra animation frames. It just always looks really good when you get a brand new update. But yeah, I want to see how other OEMs react to this now, because we're going to have this weird fragmentation of design languages now, right? Where if Chinese OEMs go down the liquid glass route, yet if we're going to use Google applications on those devices, it's going to feel really at odds with each other, right? So I'm fascinated to see where that
the
goes.
biggest question is what Samsung does here. Are they still doing the One UI thing of like that big header with empty space to push content down? We're still waiting for One UI 8 to roll out Android 16. Android 16?
Yeah, 16. 16? Yeah, it is 16. It will envelop all of these changes from QPR, though, I do believe. I'm not sure. So all of the under the hood stuff will be there. But yeah, I don't know.
I think that at least we have to wait till 9 before we start to see how they're doing M3E in any way.
Yeah, probably. But it's going to be a really interesting period of time now, because, like I say, there was a lot of brands that did adopt Material U. Some of them are definitely going to go down that Apple route again, and we're going to have this real weird change. So, yeah, that's Material 3 Expressive.
And you know what? Liquid Glass and Material 3 Expressive are not going to. Those things are going to clash.
They don't combine.
So, Samsung, please don't. Please, because even if they half embraced if they were like, oh, we've got, whatever, water, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another way to say liquid glass. We've got this new design language to you're going to open up those Google apps and you're going to feel that level of I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Yeah, exactly. That we've been talking about over the last few weeks, where it's these do not mesh together at all. And so hopefully Samsung at least kind of, they can put their own Samsung twist on it, but I hope that they steer in the direction of what Google's been doing, or come up with their own thing. I'm fine with that too. I just don't want to see them be like, well, Apple did this thing that nobody likes, so now we have to do it. Which they are hit or miss on. They do not always follow in Apple's footsteps as much as some people will try to throw it. That sometimes they do, but sometimes they do not. So
yeah, I don't think they've been as bad in the past few years. Yeah. And I guess they have we're 3 months out probably from the Galaxy S26 Ultra, and the Galaxy S26 series. So we'll probably know then. We'll know by then.
4 months.
Yeah,
you can't say
4 months.
God.
I was going to say, and I think that probably is a really good note to leave it on. So I want to thanks for joining me talking about something that I'm really passionate about. Hopefully, if you haven't already seen my deep dive, please go check it out.
Yeah. It'll be linked in the show notes for sure. So
yeah, it's a labor
right
of love. It's around about 30 minutes of so you can see every single individual change that we spotted. There may be some things that I might have missed out. Hopefully not this time. Sometimes things do slip past, but it is a pretty massive update compared to previous ones. So this has been a fun one to dive into and really fun to talk to you guys about as well. I always love talking. I love talking with you guys anyway, but this is just like my bread and butter, as it were. I feel like I'm in my element, and hopefully that came across from you guys listening out there. But thanks for listening. This, as always, is Pixelated. If you haven't as well, please go check out Will's latest podcast with the guys from Nomad.
Yeah.
I have had a brief listen, and I'm going to go listening to it very shortly after we stop recording here, and I implore you to do the same. Thanks, guys.
I got them to at the very end of the show, I got them to tease something they're working on. So listen, you got to listen to the end.
Yeah, amazing. And we will have some MagSafe stuff as well in the next couple of weeks. I haven't been able to test any because of this down update, but yeah. We will have some stuff. We will be testing that out because I think a lot of people have been asking, what MagSafe stuff are you using? And I don't have an answer for anyone just yet. But yeah, thanks guys. And I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.